Hello, listeners. A couple of announcements before we get to my talk with Whitney and Neil. This and two other upcoming episodes, one with Aaron Stevens and another with Jason Corbin, were recorded pre-virus. These chats happened in a different world. Years ago, I was asked about the shelf life of these talks. My intention is always to make these chats evergreen, relevant for years to come. And after the intro music, you'll hear a chat that's not tied to a particular time or place. But this intro obviously is. I'm recording it, of course, at home. Home, a word we now define in new ways. A place to sleep, yes, but also a school, a workplace, a shelter. I just WD'd 40, another squeaky door, and I had to wait a half hour or so to record this because I was being pinged by my Instacart shopper who was replacing a dozen eggs with a slightly different dozen eggs. Before this crisis, did you ever even notice your doors? Did a stranger pick up your eggs? It's odd. To restore a bit of normalcy, I'm going to push out the 3 remaining pre-virus episodes. I hope they can help you get your mind out of this crisis and help you focus on a much brighter future. In the meantime, be sure to follow the podcast Instagram at DGMS Podcast. Now a word about Arts and Letters and a request for you. Arts and Letters, to me, sounds like advertising nirvana. I adore my 2 guests, and it warms my heart to hear that they're being supported, inspired, and fulfilled at Arts and Letters. If each of us has the opportunity to work in an environment like that, we should cherish it. One place like that for me was another A&L, Anderson and Lemke, where I met my dear friend Todd Goodale, who was last heard on this podcast 2 years ago on episode 228. Todd is a creative director at NBC in New York. He's been working with the team from Arts and Letters and has been blown away by their talent, professionalism, and ease of collaboration. If anyone in leadership at Arts and Letters is listening to this, congratulations, you're doing it right. And finally, an ask. During this COVID-19 crisis, Arts and Letters has been helping support the Holly Fund. The Holly Fund, based in Richmond, Virginia, provides emergency grants to food service workers experiencing a financial crisis. If you can spare a few dollars to help those who are suffering, please do. Anything helps. You can find out more at thehollyfund.org. That's the HOLLI fund.org. There you can see where your money goes and how to receive help if you're a food service worker in the Richmond area in need of financial assistance. Listeners, thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being in my ear and giving me a reason to record these talks. I loved making this one, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it.
This is Don't Get Me Started. This is a conversation about advertising. And here is your host, freelance creative director and creative circus department head, Dan Balser.
There it is, yes. Welcome back to another episode. Oh my God, another episode. I'm super fired up for this episode. And I gotta say, I've been selling this one hard to my classes this week. Like, I've been talking about how excited I was to see these 2 alumni, these 2 particular alumni. No offense to the Vandercleeds and Balls of the world, but like sometimes you get a treat. Shows them up at the door and it's a Ramanan and a Repole, and you can't do better than that. You can tie. You can do just as well. You can get a good crowd in here. There's some great people that have graduated, but it's rare that you get. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sorry to the listeners that don't know me, never met me, never been to the circus, don't know these people. It's personal for me. I've been doing these things I've done this 1,000 times, still don't know what I'm doing. We're going to talk about that as we talk. I think some people come in here and they don't know what to expect. Some people come in here nervous. I'm nervous every time I start recording. I don't know if you can tell in my voice that I talk too fast at the beginning. It's because I don't know what I'm going to do. I've only done this 350 times. I still don't know what we're going to do. Whatever. So we've got 2 copywriters. They're in Richmond, Virginia. They've found their path there at different stages of their careers. Whitney has only been out of the creative circus. I thought it had been a few years. It's really like a year and a half. But I think it's been a pretty stellar year and a half. She left here in September of 2018. So I don't know if you're listening to this, it might be more than a year and a half after she left. While she was here, she was an intern at Fitzco, which is kind of cool. And then she worked for 7 months at Goodby, Silverstein and Partners, That's an advertising agency in San Francisco, California. And then for the past just about a year, she's been at Arts and Letters, a very, I would say, I'm going to talk about how different the environment is, but it's a smaller shop than the Goodby, Silverstein and Partners of San Francisco, California. Whitney, welcome back to school.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. It's like feels weird to be back in this library and not be like sweating over a like headline in a good way.
Sitting in here with you right now feels very not weird to me. Right now.
Oh yeah,
Feels like there's no time.
It feels supernatural, but like
but odd, right? It's kind of a little bit out of body. So I'm wondering what Neil feels like coming back. So Neil Ramanan, at the risk of kissing the guest's ass, which is a risk that I run into occasionally. I'm almost going to open up a little. I'm just one of my all-time favorite alumni from the school. I mean, a heart that's unlike most. A human modesty, approachability, sense of humor, levity, and intelligence that you don't see in human beings often. And I've often referred to Neil. I try to make a practice of doing this. I try to make a practice of only saying things behind someone's back that I would say to their face. So the thing that I say about you behind your back is that Neil came to school after having a career that was not, let's just say, fully fulfilling to his soul. I think he was a carpet salesman or something. And I was actually worried when I said he was a carpet salesman that it was just a racist thing to say, but I think it's actually accurate. It's kind of racist to say, I think my Indian friend was a carpet salesman. So he left the circus, it was 10 years ago now, but while he was here, he had this attitude that like, holy crap, I get to like come up with ideas, and that's what we do here. I don't have to like deal with bullshit of being a salesman or whatever the sludge that you had to deal with in a quote unquote real career. The people like Neil who've come back to school have this kind of childlike appreciation for what we get to do in this environment. And it was infectious and it was contagious to his class. And it was palpable when you interacted with Neil, who one time approached me in the hall with an idea for an app for Dunkin' Donuts called the Collective Bargaining Alarm Clock, where you get a group of friends or a teammates or someone in a class, and you basically set the alarm to get up at the same time, and the first person to turn off the alarm gets like a free breakfast at Dunkin' Donuts. The last person to click it off gets like 1 penny off of a small coffee or something like that. So you're basically, the more effectively you get up. And so Neil says to me in the hall, and I'll never forget it because I remember exactly where we were standing. Neil says to me, do you think that's a good idea? Like, is that enough just to have the one thing? And I remember saying, well, hold on a second. Dunkin' Donuts tagline is America runs on Dunkin'. So you're basically providing some sort of app that gets you running. So yeah. And my recollection, and you know what? Story's all that matters now. We don't have proof that any of this happened. In my memory it was comped up, went to your book, and it was like a great piece that may have even won a student award. Okay, so he's nodding. He hasn't been properly introduced yet, so he's actually biting his lip not to say something, which is super formal and bizarre. Okay, so anyway, so I fucking love Neil, and Neil will send email updates occasionally that are like, it's the kind of email that you want to send AirPlay to your printer to print it out on your way to the bathroom because you just know it's going to make your next 15 minutes so pleasant to catch up with Neil. He worked at Brokaw for a little while. I think the first job after school was at Pereira and Odell, out working for our good friend Rob Lambrex and Jason Apoliski, where he worked on some incredible stuff for Intel, really remarkable, breathtaking stuff. I want to say that was kind of the beginning. Pereira and Odell always kind of was on the cutting edge of what we now call branded content. Worked on that there, and then spent 2.5 years at Wieden and Kennedy before returning to Pereira and Odell, which I didn't realize that occurred. We want to talk about that. And now he's at Arts and Letters, where he's been for a little bit over a year. Welcome back to school.
Dude, thank you so much. I'm so touched by that introduction. It feels really, really good to be back and weird in the best ways. And nice to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, good to be seen by you.
Thank you for that.
You went back to P&O after Wieden. What happened there?
I did. We're in Portland. Things we're moving along, and we just were ready for a change, a pace. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend at the time, her family lives in New York, and she was ready to kind of go back and kind of close that circle. I was in a very like excited state. Let's just kind of like keep this thing rolling and just like see. I never lived in New York, so when I was looking at agencies in New York, nothing quite felt exciting. like right off the bat, I was trying to broker some relationships and start some conversations, and then something about the familiarity of Prairie Dell. I had such a positive experience there in San Francisco. Talked to PJ. He was trying to get me to come back to San Francisco.
This is PJ Pereira.
Yes, yeah. And then I was like, what's going on with the New York office? And then he quickly put two and two together, and he's like, why don't you head out there and see what you can do?
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I was there for a little over a year.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I kind of jokingly referred to something you guys said in your presentation, which is that we don't know what we're doing, but we've done it 1,000 times. And I kind of feel like it's such a great, you know what's so great about that? Letting go of the expectation that you should be something, right? So I want to go through some of the stuff you guys talked about in the forum, and then I have something new for the listeners today too. I'm going to throw you guys a curveball, but let's start off with the stuff you guys went over. So, listeners, our guests today had a presentation in front of the students, and they had some advice. They had a number of pieces that I thought were really profound. The first one was, it's impolite not to have an opinion. What do you mean it's impolite not to have an opinion?
I just think like something that we talked about like a little bit before was that like when we're in the business of like giving feedback and like that's the only thing that can make work better and kind of like make creatives better, like you're doing everyone a disservice by like not voicing your opinion. And like oftentimes I think like the status quo is that like politeness means like staying quiet. I feel like if you don't have anything nice to say, but I don't think that's necessarily true like in advertising, and like what could be rude in another circle is actually like constructive here. And I think those kinds of voices and opinions like are what is so necessary, and like the only way like you can get to like truly great stuff is like by a room full of people that like feel confident like in their opinion and in their like perspective on the world.
Is this talking to yourself? Like, did you have a hard time at some point sort of pushing back, or did you have insights and feelings or ideas about things that you edited because you thought it wasn't either your place or that you were going to look stupid? And what was the reason you edited it, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like totally when I was super young and just starting out, I'm still super young. I'm like a baby. Like I mentioned a few times, I just think it can be hard not to be precious with like your friends. And like I think you work because we spend so many hours together and because like these people are creative people like us that we feel so connected to, like it can be hard to like give your true opinion and like to say something that maybe the person that's like 6 years your senior like won't agree with. Like there's like that super intimidating moment when you're like, but what if we did this? Or like, I actually think that this could work better. Or maybe have we thought about this? Like there's that moment of like, will I get a response? Like, will it be silent? Or like, will people be like, yeah, that's actually like a perspective we haven't thought about before.
It's hard because you don't know them. It's also hard because you're scared you might gently be stepping on a landmine, right? So if you say something to someone, you don't know that they're going to just say, who the fuck are you? Shut up. Sort of thing, right? Like, who are you to talk? But what you're saying from your perspective is, no, more likely the reaction is, well, that's what we're paying you for. Like, this is what you're here. And I think as a teacher, to me, it's always about the work. It's always about, this is not at all about what I think of you if I don't like this idea. I'm not criticizing you, but I guess what you're saying is as a junior person, the fear is that you're kind of like, who the fuck are you to tell me?
What?
Right. A senior person right. But that's wrong.
Yeah. I think like we talked about this kind of last night when we were putting together a presentation. It's like your most valuable thing that you have is like your perspective on the world. And like, that's what gets you a job. Yeah. And so like, it's foolish not to share
especially when you're a baby, especially when you've got some new thinking coming into the baby, either in the place because you're new blood to the environment, or baby in the world because you have your generational insight. That's kind of cool.
In the teams classes, I felt like that was like the start of it, like starting to, hey, this is not my work, and here's the instructor reacting to it, but then the instructor turns to us, and it's like,
I always do. Yeah.
What do you think? Random person who didn't work on this thing, and that was like the start of it. It's like I'm allowed to have an opinion, and people value my opinion, not all the time, but that was the very start, and I really like that rule. We're talking about it last night through the lens of the philosophy, like, don't be a dick, right? So it's a tight-knit industry. You're going to cross paths with everybody, but don't get that confused with like not speaking up and sharing your opinion. There's nothing like dickish about just like being, hey, I have a point of view on this, and it's in service of your idea, in service of the work.
Right. The dick in this scenario is the one that says, "Who the fuck are you to say it?" That's the dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Totally.
I'm like so intimidated by both of you guys' voices. You guys have like really good podcast voice, and I feel like that's going to translate really well.
Working on it.
I've heard some bad ones. Yours isn't on the list.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is? I'm just kidding.
You're so competitive. So one thing that has not come up is the fact that you're a D1 athlete. Like that, I don't know why that's not part of your like whole brand.
Can I tell a story about that?
Yeah.
So I'm
talking about Whitney, by the way.
Yes, we both been at Arts and Letters about the same time. When Whitney started, it coincided with this thing at Arts and Letters name day. It's kind of like the Founders Day, like the once a year kind of thing. So where we go to this place which has trampolines everywhere. It's like you like jump up and down on trampolines, and it's like a expo center. And one of the areas it's dodgeball. So it's like trampoline dodgeball. So we're all like, believe it or not, like not the most athletic people, like just kind of, casual
You like beg people to
athletics.
play.
All right, like let's get in there. And I'm across from Whitney's team. I've never seen a ball thrown so fast and with such force. Like the ball was thrown direct, like towards my head, narrowly missing my face. When it hit the wall, it made like
a different sound.
It was like a cannon. Right. And so we're like, holy shit. And that was my introduction to.
Did you not know that she was a softball player?
Later, someone was like, do you know, like so-and-so? Yeah, she's like D1, like athlete, like holy shit. Like, yeah. Like
Iowa, Big Ten.
Yeah, insane.
It was like my fourth day of work. And I kind of had this like decision to make where like we're going to play dodgeball. And I'm like, do I like...
Yes, you do.
Do I play? Like, what do I do? And like, I don't want to make a big deal about it, like, because the people aren't really that athletic that are playing. And I was like, I'm going for it. And I probably, I'm not saying this dramatically, like, I threw out my arm. Like, I was throwing harder than I'd thrown in like 3 years. Like, it was...
What position did you play?
I played outfield.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like...
the thunderous sounds were like echoing out of the building.
Yeah.
I mean, like our Rich, like one of the partners, he was like literally on the sidelines, like, take her down, hit her. Like there's just one of her. And it was like my fourth day. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
Right. Take out the Terminator.
I know.
She's going to kill us all. Where'd she come from? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
That's so badass. And God, so is this just mechanical? Like you're good at it because of mechanics, and you have form, because you can't be strong. You're not training still.
No, I'm not that strong anymore at all. I just feel like it's like the aggression and like
it's
the
adrenaline.
like totally like
pure rage.
pure like competitiveness and like.
Right, is adrenaline just like, fuck the fucking rotator cuff?
It is.
I'm throwing your fucking. You're
like,
coming out.
What do I need it for anymore? And I'm just like totally going like for it. And
I don't know why I channeled Maury, the fucking hormone monster. On that.
That was good though.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were watching it like back on replay, what happened? You would be like, "That's the most unathletic looking thing."
I don't
It
know.
was more violent
Right.
than
That's so
athletic
fun.
for sure.
I was there. It was pretty athletic.
All right, talk about. I mean, Neil.
Yeah.
Athletics. So Neil, I will say this though, you looked like the last guy picked when you went to school here. Now I think you moved up a little bit.
Moved up a little bit.
Yeah, you moved up a
fair
little.
enough. Fair. I think it was when I got to Portland. It's a really interesting place to go explore things like walking and
You look like
eating
when you
healthy.
went to school here, you look like the mascot of an all-you-can-eat pizza place.
I was, yeah. That was like actually my job prior to I was in carpet sales for a while. Worked in restaurants, and I was at the mascot.
Now you look like
yummy
like
pizza.
the founder of a company that does like executive walking
seminars,
executive walking programs.
Yeah.
So you take it's like power walking,
kind of
stuff.
like corporate retreat mixed with like
Yeah, but
productivity,
but
West
it's-
Wing style.
yes.
conversing.
Yes,
Totally.
yes.
Yeah, I've been moving to Portland was the start of it. Just kind of getting a little bit of that kind of lifestyle in check a little bit, and then just trying to keep up with it. Started running, which was really good for me. Hurt my knee recently,
I
so
can't
I've been like
run.
swimming now.
Running
Yeah,
sucks.
I know, right? I actually really liked it. I thought it was
Really?
like super like just helped me release like
Nice.
the stress and,
Yeah, for me it was cycling.
anxiety. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit in the forum. I think that was just something so useful. I mean, everyone has their outlets.
Yeah, yoga for me now.
There you go.
It's awesome.
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to talk about bounce back. This was a piece of advice you gave me, and I've told listeners. I've told this. I don't think I've told this particular. I don't know how Neil Ramanan would have come up on another episode, but I'm 100% sure I've told this story a dozen times in classes. But I want to hear you tell the story because I think it's really important, and I want to talk about the two things that you can take away from this story.
Okay.
But I want you to tell the story the way you tell the story.
Sure thing.
By the way, I got to pat myself on the back a little bit. I've told the story almost word for word. The way
I love it.
I've
Yeah,
not
'cause
embellished it or changed it.
Wow.
When I was telling the story, I saw you.
No, you didn't.
Mouthing it.
Oh,
along.
Yeah.
That's
You're like, no. When I
fucking
was telling
bizarre.
the story at Forum just
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I saw you sitting in the front row, like mouthing the story as I was
Exactly.
telling it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah.
This guy knows. Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened?
But right around fifth quarter, it was
In school.
a big trip for all of us. We're all going to go to New York, go to the one show, and there's going to be a big portfolio review there. Ahead of it, I had printed out all my stuff. I think it was at the local FedEx, and actually purchased like a kind of large full size portfolio.
Physical portfolio.
Super nice physical portfolio, like bamboo, kind of, very, very slick. And I'm like, this is it. Bought a new backpack. Me and Cameron Templeton, we actually both got like matching backpacks
Just
for
to
the
stand
New York,
out.
for the New York trip. And then, we were there, and holy shit, what an amazing city. And went to the one show, and then the following day is when they had the portfolio review set up, and we walked in, and wasn't really sure what to expect, but it was all these different tables and recruiters sitting at each one. It was kind of like speed dating. Sit down, show your work, and long lines in front of the sought after agencies. And it got off to a shaky start. People were
You're not going to say where it was. Okay.
Oh yeah, totally. Got off to a little bit of a shaky start. Some people, all right, neat, Then I got to this guy and sat down across from him, and he opens my portfolio. He's like, looks at me, looks at my works, my intro page, turns the page, boring, turns the page, boring. So I start looking elsewhere. Boring, boring, boring. Not even looking at my work at this point. Every page is turning, boring, boring. And then he just kind of lost interest even more, made eye contact with me. And he's also happened to be Indian. And he looked at me and he's like, are you Indian? And I said, yeah, I am. And he's like, do you have a girlfriend? And at the time I did, I said, yeah. Is she white? Like, yeah. Like, not sure any of this is relevant, but yeah. He's like, oh, you're a bad Indian. And I was just like, holy shit, man. Like, what, like, what's the, are you just like fucking with me? Is this like, am I on
is Ashton Kutcher gonna pop out?
It's like Ashton Kutcher
like...
popping out.
Right.
I was just like, wow. And I don't know if this guy was just kind of having one of those days where you just want to like just fuck with people or what. But I was just like, holy shit, man. Not so much because of the offensive "you're a bad Indian" comment. That one took a while to sink in. It wasn't until like I had more bad portfolio reviews, just people not being super impressed with the work. Then on like my way home, I was like, not only is my work not up to par, but I'm also apparently a bad Indian. And so that I was like, oh my god,
like
I'm
bad
just,
at being who I am.
Yeah, I'm just completely an epic failure. So, but it was at Forum what I was speaking about. It was a good opportunity to start working on that notion of bounce back. So should I go to like the positive spin on it, or should we just kind of stay
I want to talk about something.
in the depressing
First of all,
sadness?
kind of racist.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
But here's the thing that I take out of the story, and I think that I have found this a couple times in my experience, that you can't predict what it is about you as an athlete, or you as an Indian, or you as a woman, or you as a talented person, or me as the face of a school that's going to trigger someone to deal with their own shit all over your fucking face.
Oh my god.
And so Lisa, my wife, has this thing. It's like you have to decide in that moment, and you have to acknowledge, is that your shit or is that their shit? And that was their shit. That's his shit. He wasn't even looking at your fucking work.
Totally.
He has an issue with his own identity, with his own validating who he is as a person, and he's letting out whatever his insecurities are on this fucking wonderful human being of a student who's like, and the way I always tell the end of the story is like, I've known a lot of people that maybe could hear you're bad at something. Neil Ramanan doesn't make the bad Indian list, the bad human being list.
No.
It's like the guy couldn't be more wrong. But I found it also really fascinating today when you were telling that story that actually became fuel for you to bounce back from us. You internalized that as a setback, because how could you not? So I've had similar instances where someone really inappropriately pushed me down, And it does make you question it because, we're all creative people and you can hear praise and love all day long. This goes in, like, I'm telling you all these wonderful things about you today. I'm telling you wonderful things about you today. They'll go in and it's literally, I imagine, a drop in a bucket. Like, it'll be in there. Yeah, I heard that, but I forgot it. But if I were to tell you, I remember that time in class where you presented something and like, I was actually considering maybe telling you shouldn't do this. You wouldn't forget that. You would not forget
What
that.
was that thing? Oh,
Totally.
Yeah,
Nothing.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Like, stick with you for years.
The whole way home tonight. That's all you'd be thinking
Like,
about.
what could it
So
have been?
even though the guy was dealing with his own shit, it does. You always default back to saying, well, every joke has some truth in it, and like he didn't say that to someone else, and like, what is it about my work? And starts to question it. If you can turn it into something positive, if you can turn it into fuel, good. But I think it's also a very kind of imprecise tool to get you to kind of improve, right?
Yeah, totally. It was just like, and coming on the heels of just like a bad experience overall, then to like add literal like insult to like emotional injury. Like I was just, oh man, But yeah, it wasn't like so much like I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna show him. It was more of just kind of like when there's like an epic roadblock, you just kind of like water finds a way. Like you just kind of find another way. And so I just like quickly like redirected. I had like quit my previous job and taken out loans and come to the circus, and this train was like moving. And so it's like, all right, well, what are my options? Let me quickly assess. And so let's just kind of recalibrate where I'm aiming and just kind of like reassess. And that was kind of a bounce back in its own way.
How hard were you down? But when you got knocked, because I'm serious about this. Like, if this moment happens and you how sort of upset or depressed or frustrated, whatever the negative emotion is, how long did you sit on that? How long did that take?
We were like chatting about this last night. It's for that particular instance, like where I was in my life, that one took a while to kind of like process. And like I just felt like all this stuff that I've been working towards and like building, and like the engineering part of my brain of like designing this book and making it like this all sucks. Like, oh my God, like what am I like? So that was like kind of devastating. And it lasted a while. It wasn't until I started that like little small freelance project and started doing like little things to kind of build my confidence back up. And then kind of started getting my momentum back. These days, there's like other like mechanisms in place. Charles has a funny thing where
Who's Charles?
The founder of Arts and Letters. He has this rule where he allows himself like a specific amount of time to like be mad about something. If something doesn't go his way, I'll give myself, I don't remember what the exact number is, like 7 minutes to just be
I love that.
upset about it.
Like you gotta have the vent. But don't let the vent be permanent.
Exactly. And then you just gotta like keep it moving. What else do you
I think that's really great.
do you do?
Yeah, I had a similar thing happen in school. I think my mom and stepdad, who are clearly a little older, I think they have a time of the day when they're allowed to complain to each other about their physical shit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right? We're just gonna get.
Yeah.
I think they have a name for it too. I forget what it is, but I think that they do that because it's important to do it in a healthy way. But it's also the healthy way part is not to let it take over. The other thing I want to talk about. Did you just have something you want to add to that?
No, I just think that like you were saying, like, there's that point where you kind of need those like 7 minutes for like people to sit in a room and be like, this sucks. And like the acknowledgement of that like human to human thing, or like someone called me boring. It's like, yeah, someone called me boring too. It's like the worst insult a creative can possibly have. I think we spend our whole life trying to be entertaining, and then like for someone to say you're boring, but like knowing like someone else said that about someone else and they said it about me, like it makes you feel less alone. And maybe that's like the point of those 7 minutes is like,
I think it's also good to like I'm dealing with this in my marriage, right? Where like I'll say something to Lisa, and because of the way she's wired, she feels like she wants to try to fix it. But I'm like, I told her recently, I said, you don't have to help me fix this. Just say it sucks. Just
just like let it.
Yeah, just let
tell me it sucks.
Right, just say, yeah, that sucks. Actually, that's right there. That's enough. That's all I kind of need.
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
Totally.
So talk about let go.
Let go. Okay, so on the heels of that experience, I started a little freelance project. I was actually getting checks sent to my apartment here in Atlanta, just like little amounts, but it was amazing. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, but not a negative amount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm
not
getting
a bill.
paid for this. This is amazing. Not a bill. And then I cannot remember the student's name. She's in the design track, and we're standing outside chatting. And it was this like she was in the midst of this like revelation about this. A lot of students in her quarter were going back and like reworking things and tinkering. How do I get this right? I've consistently gotten shitty feedback on this campaign. How do I fix it? And then she's like, why do we do that here? Why don't we just make new stuff? If you look at any artist, any creative person's kind of like canon of work, they don't go back in time and tinker with stuff. They just kind of move on. Now they're in their this mode or this period or this style. And it was this kind of, I like kind of piggybacked on that revelation. I'm like, oh no shit. Like, why am I doing that too? Like, wow. Like, thanks for that information. And then it was almost permission just to like throw all my shit away and start over. And it was so liberating. It was great. I'm like, cool. I don't need to like worry about fixing this thing. And that's kind of philosophy of just like letting go, not being precious. It comes up all the time. You're showing work and it has to get changed. You're showing work, it gets killed. It doesn't work for whatever reason. That kind of like resiliency to be able to still be passionate and stoked on it, but also like let go of it. It's not yours.
I think it's important to remember that there's not a certain number of things inside us. We are a machine that makes stuff, and the machine can always make another one. I think that's really, really important.
Totally.
My theme for the week in my teams classes, I think I've had to say this more often now because of the generation that are in the school, and I love the current students. Amazing batch of talent in the building right now. And you guys only saw the sort of the end of the conveyor belt, but the early quarter classes right now are amazing. However, I think that today's generation, I think that the young millennials and Gen Zs they put a false value on precision. So they say, well, we're going to do this, and they do it really well. Like, that's not really your job early on. I think that they need to start thinking about, this kind of goes to what you're saying, is just harvesting a bunch of crap. Like, your job is to go out and collect a whole bunch of crap. My analogy is Halloween night, when you just collect as much as you can, and then you get back, you dump it all out and see what you have, and you say, oh, I love these, I love this, I love that. There's a messiness to it. And I think that kind of goes also to like not being precious, because if you've harvested a bunch of crap, there's probably 3 good ones in there, right? There's more than one. What were you gonna say?
We kind of have this philosophy that it just reminds me of everything you're saying. It's like make it, break it, and
nice.
like we just basically we're like a testing agency. So like we have an idea and we're like, okay, like let's cut a film, like let's do this, like let's do it today, and like see if it works. If it doesn't work, like let's do something else. And I think like this like evolving nature, like it makes you, it's super hopeful because like, yeah, then we'll just like do it again. And it's also like makes you super resilient. So you're like, keep trying. And like, it's messy and like, it's fast moving, but that's like kind of the brilliance of it.
Yeah.
It like gives you this
100%.
like mentality of like, there are endless ideas. Like, I think I totally agree with you that like,
I think going back to the old stuff implies that there's a finite number of things that you're going to have, and like you're polishing turds sometimes.
Yeah. Totally.
And tell me if you guys agree with this. The best things you've done, whether student or professional, weren't they like boom? Weren't they kind of like pretty easy? The idea came pretty quick.
yeah, like you didn't have to tease it out like, over weeks.
Like the more you suffer over it, you're probably digging in the wrong hole a little bit.
But like, yeah, and like there's that kind of moment of liberation that, oh yeah, what if we just did it that way? Oh wait, what if it was just that? And then you're kind of off to the races.
Right.
So that catalyst does happen pretty fast. There is that another like arts and letters kind of philosophy that's excellence over perfection. That kind of ties into what you were talking about. It's just like a very process-driven agency, always prototyping stuff, always making stuff. Would rather spend more time in the concrete than the abstract. We could spend a long time talking about an idea, pressure testing an idea, having meetings about an idea, or we could just kind of start making it.
Oh, I love
and then
that.
start seeing it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like running lean and figuring it out as we go along.
Plus, I've often said that I think the best advertising, to me, my favorite ad campaigns are not really big ideas. They're just really done so fucking well that the thing becomes really awesome. But I love what you said in forum to the question about what should, from Nick, what should be in a portfolio. And you said a different way of looking at something. Like, tell me, there is a value to that.
Yeah.
So don't think that a dumb idea is going to always be good, because there is a value to saying like, well, I never thought of Post-its like that before. I never thought of that thing like that before. Totally. But ultimately you got to cut bait and say, okay, this is fine. Let's make this a really cool way of doing that. Right. Also, can I say one more thing about Let Go?
Yeah.
The Crispin Porter plus Boguski philosophy, Alex Bogusky's philosophy when he goes into a meeting is to assume the mentality of like a ninja. You accept death when you go to battle.
So true. Yeah.
So you go into
amazing.
battle accepting death. You've removed yourself from that. This is here to be killed. Possibly, we're going to fight the fight, but if it dies, I've accepted that.
Yeah, that's so amazing.
There's
true.
nothing worse than going back and saying, "Well, what can we do to make them buy it?" No, they just fucking killed it.
Yeah.
And have your 7 minutes and do something
Come up with
better.
something else.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. I love that.
All right. So you guys ready for the new section?
Yeah. What's this?
I'm ready. Like,
So this is a new game I call I'm questioning everything. So I will ask each of you a question. You have 0 seconds to think of the answer, and you will take turns answering first.
Okay.
all right.
I will award the best answer 1 point per round, with the final round being worth 5 points.
Oh my God.
God, made it
That final
competitive.
round.
Final round, 5 points.
All right.
Are you ready?
Stretch or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be Whitney, right? And Neil. This is my. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to start with Whitney.
Of course.
What's the best part of your job right now?
Oh my God.
You can take more than 0 seconds.
Okay. I'm just gonna think. This is an introductory answer.
And you see how this works. He gets a head start on this one.
Yeah. Now I'm like
yeah.
already formulating my answer strategically.
Collaborating.
Collaborating. Best part of your job right now.
Getting to work in the morning and being happy that I'm there.
Happy where I am. Winner, Neil. Right. Second question. What has been the best moment in your career so far?
Best moment in my career so far has been it's kind of broad, but the people I've met. Fuck, going first is
the people's not a moment.
Yeah, the best moment in my career. Honestly, I think it's the first big project that we were like official green lighted on, and I was driving to LA from San Francisco, and my partner Chaz called me. He's like, "Yo, man, we sold it. We sold it."
That's badass.
And I don't think I understood it really changed the trajectory of my career. And so I'd say
nice.
If I had to isolate a single moment, that would be
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think. Can you have 2 answers? Okay. One. I'll say 2 answers because the first one is similar to Neil's. We'd been working after it was at Arts and Letters, and we've been working for months and months to sell this line. Convince the clients that this is a good line. They didn't want it. And it took like 4 months. It took like endless amounts of work. And we finally right before Christmas, we convinced them that this was the right line.
Cool. That
we wanted. And I feel like I didn't think it was big at the time. And I'm like, that's just a line. And they're like, no, this is going to change the brand. And it's
like a positioning line?
Yeah. And it was me and my partners, our first work together. That was going to be a real thing.
That's cool.
And I think it was super special. And then I have another one.
Yeah, what's the other one?
On my 4th day at work, this dodgeball day. And maybe this is personal. We do this thing called Careful Whispers at work, where we talk about, it's State of the Union, but we play Careless Whisper, but it's careful. And Charles, our founder, gets up and we read these. It's called a clock speech. And it's for people that have been there for a year, and he's talking about someone that's worked there, and he just started crying. And I feel that I was people love each other.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I was holy shit, you don't see that happen from a man, from a company, from any place you work at. And I was wow, people love each other, and I get to be part of it, and
awesome.
Get to make stuff.
That's awesome.
That's legit.
Right, that's awesome. All right, selfish Chaz phone call versus crying agency of love. Listeners think we're going with Whitney on that.
So when you get time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little bit of a disadvantage. All right, so next question is, what's the best TV or streaming show right now?
Oh my God.
Best TV or streaming show?
Best TV or streaming. Okay, I'm definitely going to lose by this because it is so old, but I've gotten into it.
All right.
I just finished Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And I think it's great.
Why?
Storylines, complex characters. I think the people never do what you want them to do.
Oh, okay.
Along that line, also Succession. I
Okay.
feel full of flawed characters that feel really true.
Okay. Neil?
I've had some more time on this one. I'm gonna go with Cheer, Netflix documentary series following the trials and tribulations of a college cheerleading
Oh my
team.
god, it's phenomenal.
Beautifully shot, amazing stories, camaraderie, teamwork, the highs and lows of life and competition. Incredibly layered and complex, and quite amazing.
Nice.
I mean, honestly, Neil wins.
No, you
because
each get a point. There's no wrong answer. You each get a point. There's no wrong answer. That's a trick question.
that show
okay,
will
cool.
make you like cheerleading though, which is like something I didn't think was possible for me.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, Neil. Who's been your favorite boss so far, and why?
Oh wow. I would have to say favorite boss so far. I've had a lot of really good ones. I'd say Charles. Yeah, he's a really special dude. He's incredibly humble, super thoughtful, really gracious, super even keeled, and really passionate and enthusiastic. And it's like, and it's almost weird thinking of him as a boss versus just like a leader, collaborator.
Right, yeah.
And it's just been a really cool role to
cool.
kind of explore.
Very cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Same question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Charles, but I'm going to
can.
expand
Okay.
and say Charles, our chief of strategy, Andy Grayson, is like the most like optimistic person I think like I've ever met, and like consistently is like giving other people that optimism. Like I think he'll say something like a presentation will go over, he'll walk out of the room, he'll come back in, and he'll be like, I just had to tell you that post copy you had on that Instagram was like so good.
That's
like,
so amazing.
That was awesome. And like I think everyone there, like they lead by like lifting other people up,
that's
not just like by guiding.
Have you had fear-based bosses?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not lovely.
No, it's not fun.
Boring.
Boring.
I think that for that one, there's no winner with no points. Either of you get no points.
Yeah.
0 points.
Yeah,
totally.
we can totally draw.
All right. Let's say, can you describe for the listeners the worst meeting you've ever had?
Yes. Okay, so the worst meeting I ever had.
She just physically got like uncomfortable.
I like picturing it now because it was like when I say like an absolute shit show, it completely was. My partner at the time spilled a latte all over her computer on the way to the meeting. And like all the work was like on, it was like pre-Google Slides time.
Yeah, so it wasn't on the
like
cloud.
she made like a deck in
PDF deck.
yeah,
It's on a
and
computer
it's
only.
like in Illustrator, like super beautiful. We'd spend like days working on it, and this is like we've been wanting to pitch on this like for months, and we like finally get in with this team. We like befriend them at a bar. Like it's a very like long drawn out process to like they're like, so you want to pitch on this? And we're like, oh my god, they really like they asked us, and we get there and like she's late. And she texts me and she's like,
you weren't together.
We worked together, and she's like,
so you were not together.
yeah, I'm sitting in the meeting being like, where are you? And she's like, I spilled a latte on my computer. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, it won't turn on. And I'm like, we're supposed to be in the meeting like right now. And like then everyone starts coming in, like accounts, creative, strategy. Like this is like a top tier meeting. And I have to like get up and like present alone.
Oh, it's like a nightmare.
Like
It's literally
without
like a nightmare.
like literally didn't like was basically I'm just gonna run you guys through some ideas that we had. Like no comps,
right.
like no like even slides with words on them. It was literally like me just talking. And we're like then she comes in and she's like all out of sorts. And
Right.
we're just like, look, like the least professionals that these people pay to work here.
Oh my God.
And it was like, I remember thinking, sometimes I still wake up and I'm like, or I see a coffee cup next to a computer and I'm just like, good God, no. This is gonna
Oh my
happen again.
God. Oh my
That
God.
was probably worse. Or like any meeting where you read a script and it's like quiet.
Oh yeah.
So like every day when you have that one bad
know,
script
right?
that just doesn't land.
yeah.
I one that comes to mind for me is an entire pitch of that silence. We were pitching a prestigious like Scotch brand that was trying to do a market repositioning, and I was running this pitch, and I was just like in this kind of like arrogant swing for the fences kind of mindset with a team I was working with, and we were like aligned with like strategy, but we didn't do a good enough job listening to kind of internally like our account team and going kind of all the way up. Like, you know what, we're just gonna kind of do this our way, you know, and we're feeling really good about it. And they gave us, you know, that permission to do it. And I went to this pitch and we went, and I was just never sat in or presented to people that were more I mean, borderline disgusted with like the word. They were just kind of like we were so off base from what they were like terrible. Looking for and what they were needing. It was just like zero chemistry. The team kind of was very positive, and some of the more senior people, like, hey, you know, sometimes these meetings go like that. Who knows that the phone might ring. The phone never rings.
No, the phone's not ringing. No.
But just that kind of dead silence, you're looking out at them.
The phone could ring. It won't be from us.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're like, so actually, next slide.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
like
And
move on.
next slide, yeah.
So if the judges of that question were my armpits, Whitney won because I just started sweating really badly.
That was a lot. Yeah.
That really upset me a little
And
bit.
it was like
intense.
when I was like not an employee, like not getting any benefits. I was like an intern, like trying to be hired.
It's terrible.
And it was.
All right. So what's been the biggest surprise at your first job after school? What surprised you when you got it? Was the biggest surprise? What was the thing you didn't anticipate happening? Who answered first last time? You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you answer that?
Yeah, sure.
It's been a while for you.
It has been a little while. The biggest surprise at my first job was, I think it was a little bit of having to deal with other personalities. We like talked about this a little bit at our forum speech. Like, well, we all banded together and got it done here at the Circus, teamed up and got our work done. There was something you're just kind of looking out for yourself to get a job. Unless you're like really gung-ho about getting hired as a team. I'd say a lot of people in my class, it was just like, get your book together, go get a job. That's success. And once you're in that job, you're truly, at least at my first job, success was measured as like the team's output.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with that was a big challenge.
Interesting answer. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's so true.
Any surprising adjustments?
I didn't think that I would like make stuff for like other people. Like I thought that I would just like me and my partner would make work like for us.
So you're writing lines for other people's campaigns?
Yeah, or like helping them like flesh out an idea for the client and like build out like under other campaigns. And you're like, wait, so like I'm just like doing the social and the extensions for like your project that then I'm not going to work on after that, and like just for pitch, which like I just never thought.
That's what you're hired for.
Yeah.
It's not what gets you the job, right?
Yeah,
That's what
and
you're
I
hired
like
for.
never even thought that would be a possibility. Like I thought we would create everything.
Interesting.
Why am I coming? That's not my idea.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Right.
And you're like,
Really
wait, but
hard.
I don't want to like step on any toes
No,
because
but
it's
that's
not
hard to
mine.
do sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's your job.
And you have like feedback meetings with them on their idea, the stuff you made for their idea. It's just like a weird.
I like that answer.
resistance.
That was a really good one. That was a really good one.
All right, favorite dessert?
Oh my god. The always delicious, super exotic banana pudding
Banana pudding.
with the vanilla wafer layers.
Nilla wafers.
Yeah, Nilla wafer.
That's a go-to. It's a good one.
That's a pretty good one, especially regionally.
Yeah, I mean that'll hit well here. Yeah.
Yeah,
On the internet?
I know, right? I'm gonna go with blueberry donut, Voodoo Donuts, Portland, with half a glass of milk.
Oh, the milk is a nice touch.
Yeah.
For the win, Neil Ramanan. What personal trait of yours? What is it about you? Personal trait of yours has served you best so far in your career. What is it about Neil Ramanan that has helped you be successful?
I think not taking myself too seriously.
Nice.
I'm like incredibly disciplined. I'd say that's like my biggest like life strength. Like if I had a card that said like strengths and weakness on the back, like a Pokemon card, like discipline would be like at 10. And then maybe like the other things would be all 5s. I'm just like brainwashed to like.
I kind of want to be both of you right now. I want to take myself less seriously. I think I'm okay with that. But discipline?
And the discipline.
No one has ever said, oh, damn, Bozer, that guy's disciplined. that guy's got his shit together. That guy's reliable.
I feel like it's become like it's out of like stubbornness, and then you like just
the stubbornness. You don't have imposter syndrome though. Do you feel like you're a fraud ever? Because you don't have that.
No.
Because people have that. Seems to be common with creatives. You don't have that.
I don't feel like I'm a fraud.
No. But you just want it. You don't want it. You want it. it's like a juicer. You want to get every bit out of it.
Yeah. Like
So-
I'm like at work like every day at 7:45.
Wow.
And I like
Badass.
prompt.
That's sick.
Like just like
I can't give a winner for
like
that one.
military. I feel like I
You
could
liking
have been
her
really
answer?
good
It
in
might be a
military.
push. I like her answer. I like that.
That's a push. All right, next question. What made your favorite partner so far be your favorite partner?
Is it my turn?
Yes?
I've had like so many amazing partners and like it's hard to pick of like
That's kind of the question that was asked in forum.
Yeah.
That's kind of the question that Daniel asked in forum. Like, what makes a good partner? What makes a good partner, I guess, is the question.
and I mean like first of all like talent always helps. Like when your partner's like super talented, I think that's amazing.
Everything else is better.
Yeah, everything else is better. But like my partner now, something happened. We were like in a car going to an edit, and he like turned to me and like when you get a new partner, like what's the personal line when you're like asking questions and stuff? And he's like, "Why do you love Blake?" And like, who's my fiance? And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" Like Albert totally caught me off guard. And we're just like going to this edit. And I just thought like a person who cares about you as a person and like wants to know about your life, like I think you can make stuff with that person.
Fascinated to know why you asked that.
I know, like out of the blue. He's like, so why do you love him?
He's seeking answers for his own life, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
He's the best.
What makes a great partner?
I think, like Whitney had said, worked with a lot of really wonderful, awesome people. I think it's the right mix of cynicism and optimism, like that chemistry. I think within that person, because
cool.
sometimes you could over-index on one of those, and it manifests itself in other ways, like enthusiasm and patience. That's kind of like a nice kind of
Cynicism and optimism that's interesting.
yeah. Because I mean, there's like adequate amounts of both of those things in all of us, and it's just kind of like what's that mix? And it might not always be the same kind of compound every single day, but generally I think some people have their own kind of
That's awesome.
temperament in around that. So
What's your biggest advertising pet peeve? Do you have one?
mine biggest advertising pet peeve,
We could skip this one. Unless you have an answer.
unless you want to hop on this. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
thinking.
Oh my God. I have like Snapchat activation filters. I feel like anytime I see one,
It's
I
funny,
want
yeah.
to just like
Yeah.
be like, wow, way to think out of the box. Like,
Right.
That was insane.
Not insane.
Just like bullshit trends. Like when a brand just tries to like jump in a conversation they don't belong in.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Also, I mean, I have a lot. I could
Because
keep going. Like women's empowerment brands. It's like when you try to just say it to like be like, oh yeah, and also like now our razors are blue instead of pink.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like us now.
Look at us. Like we're so progressive and like supportive, and it's like
So
it's a fucking razor.
tone deafness is what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like a general like.
And think about this. Think about by the time it reaches corporate America, and then you get the brief, and then it's produced. What's the gap there between relevance and bandwagoning?
So far.
It's long. It's a long gap. You don't get a point for that, my friend.
I don't get. I was just silent. I just sat there silently,
Favorite sport?
kind of staring at the sky.
Oh my God. Volleyball.
I'm gonna go basketball,
Basketball. NBA
NBA,
or college?
Yeah.
Volleyball?
College volleyball.
It's a great game.
Oh my God. So fast.
Yeah.
And like these women are
Powerful.
so athletic and
Yeah.
powerful. I think it's amazing.
Love that. Have not heard that answer. We already answered this one. At what could you kick the other's ass? She already kicked your ass at
Answering questions.
dodgeball.
Oh, a dodgeball. Yeah,
What
very,
could
very clear.
no, not at answering questions. I think you guys are pretty close.
Yeah, we're
what's
neck and
what's
neck.
at what could you kick her ass?
I think I could kick Whitney's ass in. I haven't seen you play table tennis, but I'm pretty good.
I'm actually shit. I'm
There it is.
Super bad.
There it is. Okay. What time do you go to bed at night?
11:30.
I'm averaging about let's say like 10:30, 11 on average.
Does a 2-year-old get up in the night still?
He sleeps through the night mostly. He's
Good.
up on most good mornings about 6 a.m. He's awake. He'll kind of go
Is he up
into
with the
those
light?
phases.
Is he up with the light?
He's up with the light, generally speaking. We did get into like a heavy Lion King rotation, and he's woken up around like 4 in the morning a few times recently.
Yeah, it's scary getting eaten
Some
by a lion.
nightmares about hyenas.
Oh, the hyenas in that are
yeah,
terrifying.
yeah, they're very scary. So, but yeah, generally, just especially at Arts and Letters, get into work early and then just power through. We just go fast and then try to get some sleep.
No answer to that one. I mean,
No, yeah,
there's no
yeah,
wrong
I mean,
answer.
I
All
don't
right, we have the final two questions.
Right.
We're all writers in the room.
Yeah.
Paper or screen when you're writing?
Me, I like to mix it up. At Arts and Letters, though, it's been, I'd say, way more screen. I'm like
Okay.
in Google Docs all the time. That's where I get it done. Typically, like prior to Arts and Letters, I'd like to kind of like break it up a little bit. I find doing a lot of note taking when we're like talking about feedback. I like to do that on paper, then kind of look at my notes and get back on screen.
When I was at school, it was all paper, just like devoted to my notebook. Now I take notes on paper and write in Google Docs. I think like my hand would be a claw if I wrote as much as I did in a
Right,
day
yeah, right,
on paper. So I think it's more of like an efficiency thing, and like I can like bang out like 6 scripts instead of like writing. I think I do more script writing too, like less headlines.
Yeah, that's different. Was there a brain adjustment for you moving to to both hands typing? I'm actually kind of wondering this from a biological perspective, like because for me it was an adjustment going because I obviously grew up a lot on just writing, and then switching to the computer took me a little while, but now I'm comfortable, but I wasn't comfortable right away. Were you comfortable right away?
I think sometimes though with the computer, like I don't write it till it's perfect, or I like keep erasing, so I get like less of my like thought patterns of how I got there.
Everything I work on, I have 2 documents. One's called thoughts and one's called copy.
Yeah.
I always have both, 2 of them. And then I have final for client. All right. So this is the 5-point question, and there's I don't think there's a right answer. I don't think there's a right answer for it. I think we're all winners in this game. I don't think this was a game. I think this was a trial run. We tried this once.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. Maybe
It's a great game.
Like buzzers or some kind of thing like that. You know,
Maybe I should improve it.
potentially.
Maybe I should go back to that old idea and make it better.
Maybe. Okay. Hey, yeah, like just go spend some not just like
You know what I meant. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time to the day you graduated from the Creative Circus, what would you whisper in young Whitney's ear? What would you tell young Whitney?
There are like so many things I feel like I wouldn't.
You're still young Whitney, but what would you tell young?
Share like on a podcast about advertising.
Right. You could share. Well, no, whatever.
You know,
If you don't want to, that's fine.
No, I have like my one beat of advice that's like not related to anything is like don't do that photo shoot you did with like the mini horses. Like it'll just haunt you.
Oh my God.
And I feel like for so long people referred to me as like mini horse girl, and like it became like a brand, and people thought I was like into horses, and it was like a big joke. And I like had it as like my backdrop when I did my graduation speech.
Maybe that's why they thought you were into it.
Yeah.
Because it was your whole thing.
It was like a huge joke. Like Nick Reed, my old partner, like bet me that I wouldn't go do this like photo shoot with this mini horse, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do it.
So the lesson you tell young you is that the internet is permanent.
Yeah, and like I can't erase it. And like all the time people would be like, remember this one time, and like share the photos with the mini horse. And I mean, Neil, they're so weird.
I need to see this.
You deserve it. You
Yeah,
deserve it.
that's my regret.
Right. That's a good one. Harmless.
So, if I came and whispered in young pizza eating Neil's ear some advice at the end of the circus, I would say, make a little time for other stuff. Make a little time for you. You know, just like carve out a little pocket, little self-care and Neil time.
Ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to schedule that when you're growing up.
Got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So hard.
We have 2 winners in the room.
Oh my God.
And it's you guys.
I'll take it.
It's Arts.
Yeah,
take
I
it.
mean,
Deeply
this is a perfect
honored.
ending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really
Thank you guys
was. Smart
so
questions.
much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. I love you guys.
So
Love you
fun.
too.
We
All
love
I
you
have
too.
to
This
say
was
about
great.
that.
That was awesome.
You can reach both of them at first name at artsandletters.xyz. It's not first name. It's Whitney at artsandletters.xyz. And it's Neil, Neil, at artsandletters.xyz. You can reach me, as always, at danspodcast@mac.com. I forgot to tell you and remind you, I hate myself. This show's on Instagram. It means I have pictures and snapshots on the Instagram, DGMS Podcast, also on Facebook at DGMS Podcast. Podcast is everywhere now. If it's easier for you to listen to this on Spotify in your car, it's on Spotify, it's on SoundCloud. We're all over the interwebs, and I appreciate your listening very much. And you guys, thank you so much. So great to catch up.
This was awesome.
No, this
Thanks
is
so
great.
much. Really,
Love you guys, listeners.
for having us.
Don't know you well enough on the other end. What'd you say?
What? I said I'm just honored.
I'm honored.
I'm honored too.
Listeners, shoot me an email, and then we can start a conversation on the side. And let me know how the game went. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's how it goes.
That was
Oh my
awesome.
God,
man.
you're like
Thank
such a
you.
pro.
Dude, you like do it for
At the beginning, you just
carried
like
us.
sunk into
It's
it. I'm like,
carried us.
what?
I was like, wow, like this is how it goes.
Supposed to
I
make
thought
it-
there's gonna be a lot of like stopping.
Yeah.
Oh,
picking it
God,
back up.
no.
Yeah, just rock and roll.
Felt great.
That was awesome. It was great.